Willpower feels powerful because it shows up when conditions are good. When energy is high, stress is low, and life feels manageable, effort feels easy. In those moments, people assume willpower is the solution, because it appears to work without resistance. But what they're experiencing isn't strength, it's surplus. Extra energy, extra clarity, extra capacity. And surplus creates the illusion that effort alone is enough. The problem is that surplus is temporary. As soon as pressure increases, that feeling disappears. Not because discipline failed, but because willpower was never designed to carry behavior on its own. When conditions change, the illusion breaks. And what remains is the system underneath. Willpower isn't a personality trait. It's a limited resource. Every decision draws from the same pool of mental energy. What to focus on, how to respond, what to ignore, what to resist. Even small choices add weight, and that weight accumulates quietly throughout the day. As the day progresses, effort feels heavier not because you care less, but because there is less available to draw from. The capacity that supported restraint earlier has already been spent on work, conversations, stress, and constant decision-making. When willpower runs low, behavior doesn't fail morally. It fails mechanically. This is depletion, not weakness. And any system that depends on a resource that steadily drains, without replenishment or support, is guaranteed to collapse under sustained pressure. Most people underestimate how many decisions they make in a single day. Not just big ones, but constant small choices. What to respond to first? What to postpone? How carefully something needs to be done? Each decision seems minor, but together they create cognitive load. As that load builds, the brain begins conserving energy. It simplifies where it can. It defaults to what feels familiar, efficient, or immediately relieving. This isn't laziness. It's a protective response to overload. When decision fatigue sets in, long-term goals lose influence. The brain prioritizes reducing effort in the moment, even if that means abandoning intentions that mattered earlier. Any system that requires frequent decision-making will break under pressure, because it asks for clarity at the exact moment clarity is depleted. Under emotional pressure, logic stops being the deciding factor. Stress, frustration, and disappointment change how the brain evaluates choices. Long-term outcomes lose urgency, while immediate relief becomes more attractive. This shift happens automatically, not as a conscious decision. That's why breakdowns rarely feel logical in hindsight. They weren't driven by bad reasoning, they were driven by emotional load overwhelming cognitive control. When emotions are elevated, the brain narrows its focus. It looks for comfort, escape, or certainty, not optimization. Systems that depend on rational decision-making fail at the exact moments emotion takes over. Any approach that ignores emotional load will collapse under pressure, because emotion doesn't ask permission before it changes behavior. By the end of the day, willpower has already been spent. Decisions have accumulated, emotional strain has built up, and mental energy is depleted. Even simple tasks begin to feel heavier, not because they changed, but because the resources supporting effort are gone. This is why habits collapse at night more than any other time. Motivation hasn't disappeared. Discipline hasn't failed. The system is simply asking for effort when there's nothing left to give. Late-day breakdowns aren't personal flaws. They are predictable outcomes of depletion combined with unmet recovery. Any system that expects peak performance at the end of the day will fail repeatedly, no matter how strong intentions were earlier. Strong systems don't rely on willpower. They rely on environment. Environment shapes behavior quietly, by influencing what feels easy, obvious, or available in the moment. When the right action requires fewer steps than the wrong one, consistency stops feeling like effort and starts feeling automatic. This is why changing surroundings is often more effective than trying harder. Environment removes decisions before they need to be made, which preserves mental energy for moments that actually require judgment. When systems depend on willpower, they fail under pressure because willpower depletes. When systems depend on environment, they continue functioning even when energy is low, stress is high, and attention is scattered. The more behavior is supported by design, the less discipline is required to maintain it. And systems that require less discipline are the ones that last. The most reliable systems remove choice at the moment of action. Every decision carries a cost. Even small choices create friction, and when those costs accumulate, effort collapses faster than people expect. Removing decision points reduces that friction before it has a chance to drain energy. When the next step is obvious, behavior becomes easier to repeat. There is less negotiation, less hesitation, and less internal debate about what should happen next. Action feels lighter because the decision has already been made in advance. This is how consistency survives pressure. Not by demanding more effort, but by eliminating the need to decide when energy is lowest and stress is highest. Clarity replaces discipline. And systems built on clarity hold far longer than systems built on force. Instead of demanding effort when energy is lowest, strong systems plan for depletion in advance. They assume there will be days when motivation is absent, time is limited, and attention is fragmented. On those days, the system doesn't ask for more strength. It reduces what's required to continue. Friction is lowered before it becomes a problem. Actions are simplified so the next step is still clear. Minimum behaviors are defined so progress can continue without debate, even when willpower is gone. This prevents the all-or-nothing cycle that breaks consistency. Progress doesn't stop just because conditions aren't ideal. Systems that account for depletion don't collapse under pressure. They adapt quietly and keep moving forward when effort is scarce. When systems are designed correctly, willpower stops being the driver. Behavior continues because structure holds. Progress happens because the system carries the load, not because effort is constantly renewed or motivation shows up at the right time. This is what sustainable discipline actually looks like. Not force. Not intensity. Not constant self-control. Design. When systems support behavior on bad days, consistency stops feeling fragile. You no longer need perfect conditions, high energy, or emotional clarity to keep moving forward. Good days take care of themselves, because the system doesn't rely on surplus to function. That is what makes habits last. Not strength, not willpower, but structure that holds under pressure.